Hi everyone, welcome to Fridays with Fenning. I'm recording this from the garden of my best buddy Steve Miles as we have a couple of days out on the golf course this week. It's blissful and I am certainly making the most of this half-term break. But you know, it was the day before travelling to Brackley that I realised that this Tuesday was a landmark day for the UK in that there were 0 COVID deaths for the first time since the pandemic began. I mean, how good is that? 0 deaths. But sadly, we can look back over the past 15 months or so and remember that around 128,000 people have died of COVID, and each death has left a grieving parent, sibling, friend. And whether or not someone you know has died during lockdown, at some point in life, all of us face the pain of losing someone that we love. And the pain of grief can just feel overwhelming, and it's sometimes hard to find hope. You know, bereavement first hit me in 1999. I was 34 and my wife Sarah died of cancer, leaving me widowed, but leaving 3 young children without a mum. Now, I know this sounds strange, but good can come out of such pain. And although it was an incredibly tough time, I think I learnt some helpful lessons around the whole area of grieving. You see, the phrase good grief isn't just a phrase of surprise. There really is a way of grieving that's good for us. And what I've tried to do is just to pull together 4 suggestions that I think might help if you've lost someone close to you or you know someone that's mourning and you want to be able to help. So firstly, it's okay to cry. I heard an interview with the daughter of Ronnie Corbett, the TV comedian, who said that after his death, that grief is the price that you pay for love, and she's right, which is why it's okay to cry. Now, I know this sounds obvious, but there's often a fear that we feel that if we start crying, we'll not be able to control it or stop it. And it can seem embarrassing for others around us, and so we do all that we can to hold it in, to not let our emotions show. However, we should never be ashamed of our tears when we're experiencing grief, in that tears are the safety valve of our emotions. They actually bring release to the pain of loss that we feel. You know, it's interesting that the shortest verse in the Bible is found in John's account of Jesus' life. Jesus had found out that his friend Lazarus had died, and his response, well, John just writes these 2 words: Jesus wept. Listen, it's good to cry. It's okay to express emotions, and it's healthy to do so. Secondly, let people in and help them to come close. You know, bereavement can be a lonely place. People are often afraid of saying or doing the wrong thing, so they stay away and they'll push a card through the letterbox and quietly creep away so that you don't hear them at the door. Now, they aren't intentionally isolating you. They just don't know what to say and they don't want to intrude. So good grief involves helping people to come close. This might be colleagues, friends, or family. I mean, personally, I tried to remind everyone that they didn't need to say anything, that they could just squeeze my arm or give me a hug. I also told them not to worry or be embarrassed if I cried, and that I would be fine. I also encouraged people to talk about Sarah with me, to share stories, as I desperately wanted to keep the memory of her alive. You know, reminding people of these simple steps not only helped reduce their anxiety in approaching me, but it meant that I felt far more supported and surrounded by family and friends, and just not alone. The third thing, good grief involves asking for and accepting help if it's needed. You know, people do want to help, but they often don't know how. So being willing to push yourself to accept when others approach you, you know, whether it's offering meals, looking after the kids, or even doing your washing, ironing, or shopping, you know, that's good. On afternoons when I was lonely or I just wanted adult company, I started ringing round my family and friends until I found someone who was willing to join me for a meal. You know, it could take several calls before I found someone available, but it was so worth it. So don't be afraid to accept help when it's offered and ask for help when it's needed. Lean into your family and friends because, as I've said before, they really do want to help. And finally, please know that good can come from the darkest places. Losing someone we love is just traumatic and stressful, and it can be hard to find hope or believe that anything good can come from the experience. I once heard an interview with the chief operating officer of Facebook, a lady called Sheryl Sandberg, and she lost her husband at a young age and spoke about how tough that experience was. And she mentioned this. She said, "You'll all have heard of post-traumatic stress, but how many of you have heard of post-traumatic growth?" And she went on to say how through the trauma of losing her husband, she'd changed as a person and changed in a positive way. She said, "I'd never choose what happened, but I like the person I've become." And I completely identify with her experience, as it was the same for me. Out of the darkness, I became a less judgmental and more compassionate person. Now, grief takes time to work through. Eventually we learn to live without our loved ones around, and we learn to accept this new normal. And we can begin to enjoy life and invest in our friendships and to start reaching out to others. King David, who experienced loss big time, could write these words. He says, "Weeping may last through the night, but joy comes with the morning." And later he goes on to say that you, that's God, have turned my mourning into dancing. You've taken away my clothes of mourning and clothed me with joy, that I might sing praises to you and not be silent. O Lord my God, I will give you thanks forever. Now, when the pain of loss has finally burnt away, we're left with wonderful memories of the person that we loved. And you know what? We can smile again. Look, I'd love to find out what you've learned through your experiences of coping with grief or supporting someone else in their grief. So please do share by including it in the chat if you're watching this on Facebook, or by emailing steve.fenning@forgechurch.com, because I would love to hear from you and to learn from you. Hey, thanks for watching, and I hope that you have a great weekend. Do join us on Sunday as we launch a new 3-week series. It's based on the topic of life and death, entitled Mentioning the Unmentionable. It's at 10:30 on Facebook, YouTube, or via our church website. So please do join. Hey, have a great time, and many thanks.